Most gardeners lay cardboard down dry and then wonder why their soil stays sluggish for weeks. They're told it suppresses weeds and builds organic matter, so they toss it on, spray it with a hose, and call it done. What actually happens is the cardboard acts like a temporary moisture barrier, slows microbial colonization, and delays worm activity. If you're serious about building living soil, that delay costs you time, nutrient cycling, and crop performance. If you care about measurable results in your beds, subscribe to the channel. On Farm Logic, we test these methods in real growing systems, not just theory. Here's what changes everything: soaking the cardboard properly before it ever touches your soil. Dry cardboard is carbon without biology. Cardboard is essentially compressed plant fiber. It's a high-carbon material with very little nitrogen, and when it's dry, it's biologically inactive. Worms don't eat cardboard because it's cardboard. They feed on the microbial life colonizing it. When you lay dry cardboard over soil, microbial colonization starts slowly from below. Oxygen flow is uneven, moisture distribution is inconsistent, the corrugated channels inside the cardboard trap air pockets, and water often runs off instead of saturating those spaces fully. That means bacteria and fungi establish themselves gradually rather than explosively. And I learned this the hard way, building no-dig beds. I laid double-layer cardboard, added compost, topped with mulch, and waited. 3 weeks later, when I pulled back the mulch to check activity, I saw minimal worm presence along the cardboard interface. The soil below was fine, but the cardboard itself was barely colonized, so I started soaking it first. Soaking cardboard changes the biological starting line. When you fully submerge cardboard for 24 to 48 hours before laying it down, you eliminate the slow start problem. The fibers swell, the air pockets fill, and microbial life can begin colonizing immediately. If you soak it in plain water, you already improve results, but if you soak it in biologically active water, especially pond water from a healthy system, the difference becomes dramatic. In my tests, I use a 30-gallon stock tank. For a standard 4 by 8 foot raised bed, I soak enough flattened cardboard sheets to cover the surface in a single layer. I mix roughly 1 part pond water to 2 parts rainwater or dechlorinated water. The sheets stay submerged for at least 24 hours, sometimes up to 36 if temperatures are moderate. When they come out, they're fully saturated, heavy, and slightly darker in tone. That saturation means microbes are not just on the surface. They're inside the fluted channels. That's where the worm activity begins. So, worms respond to microbial blooms, not just the cardboard itself. This is the part, honestly, that many gardeners tend to miss. See, worms actually move toward food density gradients. When bacteria and fungi start multiplying along the cardboard fibers, worms pick up on that concentration and migrate upward. In my own trials, I compared dry cardboard, water-soaked cardboard, and pond-soaked cardboard in side-by-side beds. Now, all of the beds received the same 2 inches of finished compost and 3 inches of shredded leaf mulch on top. After 4 weeks, I took 6-inch wide soil cores about 8 inches deep. The dry cardboard bed averaged around 7 worms per core. The water-soaked bed averaged 10 to 12. But the pond-soaked bed? That one consistently produced 15 to 20 worms in the same volume. That's not just a marginal improvement. That's real multiplication. And once worm numbers increase, everything else just accelerates. Soil aggregation, nutrient cycling, moisture retention, all of it. If you're working with, say, a 100 square foot plot, you'll need roughly 15 to 20 medium-sized cardboard panels. Be sure to remove any tape, staples, and glossy coatings. Just keep it to plain, corrugated cardboard. So you'll want to soak the sheets in a large container. If you don't have pond water, honestly, rainwater works a bit better than chlorinated tap water. Just let them sit fully submerged overnight. Before you lay down the soaked cardboard, go ahead and mow or scalp those weeds as low as you can. Then lay the sheets in a single layer, making sure there's about 2 to 3 inches of overlap. This really helps prevent any light from getting through. Then, right away, apply 1 to 2 inches of compost. Finish up with 2 to 4 inches of mulch. Use straw, shredded leaves, or wood chips, depending on what works best for your system. Within about 10 days, if the soil's warm, you'll start noticing castings forming along the edges. And within 3 to 4 weeks, you'll see worm activity right along the cardboard interface. It's pretty amazing. In my sandy test plot, this method actually improved moisture retention enough that, well, irrigation frequency dropped by about 20% over the season. In raised beds, honestly, the response is even faster. Raised beds warm up earlier in the season, which speeds up microbial reproduction. In a 4x8 bed, if you install soaked cardboard in early spring, when soil temperatures reach 60 degrees Fahrenheit, you'll see active decomposition beginning within just a few days. So, one important detail here is to avoid stacking multiple thick layers. Honestly, just one layer is ideal. If you use too much cardboard, it restricts airflow and can create these temporary anaerobic pockets, which you really don't want. Now, if nitrogen levels in your soil are low, you can lightly dust the soil surface with about ½ pound of aged manure or just a thin scattering of alfalfa pellets before adding your compost. That helps offset temporary nitrogen immobilization as microbes process all that carbon. In hydroponic adjacent systems, it's important to scale things carefully. For soil-based hydroponic grow beds or integrated worm bin systems, you definitely don't want large sheets. Instead, tear pond-soaked cardboard into strips and mix them lightly into the top 2 inches of media. No more than 5% by volume, really. I've tested this myself in 3x6 foot grow troughs using a compost-based substrate. Worm reproduction increased noticeably compared to just adding dry shredded cardboard, which is pretty interesting. But, adding too much led to compaction as the material collapsed, so moderation really matters in contained systems. The trade-off that most people overlook is that soaked cardboard decomposes faster than dry cardboard. Some gardeners see that as a downside, since the weed barrier effect doesn't last as long. But if your goal is living soil rather than long-term suppression alone, faster breakdown is an advantage. Decomposition feeds worms. Worms feed soil structure. Soil structure supports plant roots. You're trading extended physical barrier lifespan for biological acceleration. For food production, that's a trade worth making. Seasonal timing influences outcomes. Spring and early summer are ideal. Soil temperatures between 60 and 80 degrees Fahrenheit maximize microbial growth. In cooler weather, the process still works but moves slower. In high summer heat, above 90 degrees, keep mulch thick and moisture consistent. Soaked cardboard retains water longer than dry sheets, but extreme heat can still dry upper layers quickly. So, you'll want to apply the soak method just once for each bed installation, or once per major resheeting cycle. You really don't need to keep adding cardboard over and over. Now, what's actually happening underground? Well, within just a few days, fungi start to penetrate the cardboard fibers. Bacteria quickly colonize those surfaces and multiply like crazy in that moist, carbon-rich environment. Protozoa begin grazing on the bacterial populations, which releases nutrients that plants can actually use. And then worms follow shortly after. As worms tunnel through, they break up the cardboard and pull pieces downward into the soil. Their castings start to build up right at the boundary between the soil and the cardboard. All this activity forms channels, which really improves both aeration and water infiltration. After about 6 to 8 weeks, the cardboard gets soft, dark, and is partly blended into the soil matrix. And by the 3-month mark, it's honestly barely recognizable anymore. In one of my long-term beds, organic matter actually increased by about 0.5% in a single season, just from using this soak method along with heavy mulching. That's a pretty meaningful change in real soil metrics. This isn't just some shortcut. It's what I'd call ecological sequencing. Dry cardboard just sits there waiting for life to show up. But soaked cardboard, it arrives pretty much alive. One way slows things down, but the other really gives things a jump start. If you're already composting, mulching, and building beds, this is honestly a small adjustment that adds up year after year. And that, right there, is the difference between soil that just survives and soil that truly thrives. If you want more field-tested, no-nonsense methods for building fertile, worm-rich soil that produces better food, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and maybe share this video with another serious grower. The more we understand how to work with biology instead of fighting it, the stronger our gardens and our harvests are going to be.